Welcome to our Wednesday night Bible study. My name is Lonnie, and we're awfully glad at the East Allen County Church to have you this evening. We're going to be taking a look at what our desires should be. One of our desires, anyway, should be as Christians in the church. We live in a world of situational ethics, and essentially what that phrase means is that what's right and what's wrong vacillates according to the person and the circumstance in which they find themselves. Situational ethics is a debatable and highly uncertain way of living your life. If you live according to situational ethics, would it be wrong, for instance, to steal in one case but not in another? And there are some things in life that will be ultimately just wrong, and a Christian needs to develop an attitude and a spirit within ourselves to do what is right all the time, every time. So we're going to take a look at the fact that we should have a constant will as Christians to do what is right. Experience has taught us that it's sometimes easy to obey God and sometimes it's not. The question in those moments is not whether we should obey God or not, but whether we will. My ethic is going to be what I do. If you don't know what the word ethics means, it just means some people think it's your moral code. Well, it's how you act according to your moral code. Some people are conflicted. They believe to do the right thing, but they're not going to do the right thing. For instance, and I'm not picking on anybody, I don't know of any certain circumstance, but if you do your taxes yourself, are you completely honest about the numbers, or will you allow yourself to be in a bracket that gives you more money back or maybe causes you to pay less? That's an ethical question. It's also a legal question. If you get caught and you're wrong, the IRS is not particularly friendly. They don't care about your situational ethics. They're very concerned about the law and how much money they can get. So please don't do that. My advice would be always be honest about those things. What kind of faithfulness would it be if we only obeyed the Lord because it was easy? What kind of faith is that? If I only do what God wants me to do when it's easy for me to do, there's just something wrong with that. My Lord sacrificed himself on a cross, and yet I'm going to take advantage of a circumstance to say, well, I know the Lord gave his life, but I'm not going to be embarrassed right now by telling these people I'm a Christian, and I know they're going to give me a hard time for it, so I can't bring that up, or I've got to hide that, or I've got to put that away. Jesus would actually say in Scripture that if we denied him here on earth, he would deny us before his Father in heaven. I don't want to be denied before his Father in heaven by Jesus. I want Jesus to look at me and say, you know what, that's my brother, that's my son right there. And I want Jesus to take care of me. I want his forgiveness. I will not be perfect. That's why I needed his blood and still need his blood to cleanse my soul. That being the case, I should not have within me a desire to be anything less than what he would want me to be. So I should always want to do what is right. Feelings are powerful things, emotions. And the question of emotionality, what I feel about something, that is an incredibly powerful thing. In fact, life would be pretty dreary without them. There are some people that are antisocial in the sense that they don't really, some people have other personality disorders or major psychopathologies that prevent them from really feeling emotion. And these are people that are hard to be around. Imagine someone that has no sense of humor. I'm not talking about because you're a cut up and you're in trouble and you're trying to be funny and they're not laughing. That doesn't mean they don't have a sense of humor. It just means that you're not taking seriously what someone else is obviously taking seriously. But there are some people that will never understand humor. They won't get it. Sometimes they're from another culture. They don't know the language very well, or they don't get the nuance because they don't understand cultural aspects. And so if you say something funny that everybody would laugh at, they might not get it. But the truth of the matter is that we need emotions. But the thing about emotions is they can be highly manipulated. In Hebrews chapter 12, the Hebrew writer says this: "Therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us also lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily entangles us. And let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. What is endurance? I believe it or not, if you're looking at me, you might not believe this, but I promise you it's true. When I was in high school, I ran track. And I was a much thinner version of what I am today. But I asked my track coach one day what the secret was to being a great runner. I ran the 800 meter in spring track, the 600 meter in winter track. And those are both long sprints. They're very difficult races. It's about pace to a degree, but it's largely about torture. A lot of people don't like those races because of how hard they are. They're not a short distance sprint, which is difficult, or a long distance run, which is also difficult. They're a middle distance sprint, and it's very hard. But anyway, so I ran those races, and I asked my track coach, Doug Sable, I said, what do I do? What is the secret to being a better track athlete? Like there was a secret. And he told me, he said, there's no secret. He said, for the races you're running, you have to be able to endure pain. And he said that's your measure of success will be directly correlative or will correlate to how much pain you're willing to endure. So I looked at him and I said, so you mean to tell me that you're not telling me being in shape is not important? He said, by no means. Being in shape means less pain. So yeah, if you want less pain, all of us do, I would imagine, then you have to be in pretty good physical shape. But he said, still, your success in any given race is going to be determined by how much of your pain you're willing to put up with to keep on pushing. And so when we talk about endurance, when the Hebrew writer says, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, let us push ourselves. Some people approach their faith on a laissez-faire, lackadaisical, I'll get to it when I get to it kind of perspective. It's not the way to approach your faith. Approach your faith aggressively. Run that race. It's going to get your heart beating. Get out there and be impassioned about your belief. And you say you love the Lord. Well, does your life show that you love the Lord? Or are those just words you use to make yourself feel better? The question about whether or not you love God is completely and entirely wrapped up in how you're running this race. And the writer says to run with endurance. In other words, don't just run in short sprints and then dive off the track. One of the things I learned about rabbits when I ran track. I don't know if you know I'm not talking about the little two-eared floppy fluffy guy. Rabbits are people who can run at high speed for short distances, and the distance runner or the middle distance runner will pace themselves to the rabbit. We didn't have enough track members on our team to have a rabbit. In fact, some would have picked other animals to be our lead on the team. But for some teams, when we'd run big meets against bigger schools, they would have rabbits. And these people would come on the track, they would start the race, and all the rabbits would start the race. Fast guy would go to the front, he would pace the lead runner for that team, and then he would max himself out, and he wouldn't finish the race. He'd just dive off the track, and then another rabbit would pick up, run to the front, lead the pace runner, and it would go on like that. Hopefully to get the pace runner to win the race. And the object is you try to keep up with the fast sprinter. The sprinters didn't have the endurance to make the whole race. Their job was to help the lead runner to win it. But some people are like those rabbits, spiritually speaking. They run hard, they run fast, they look very impressive, and then the next thing you know, they're off the track. I never quit a race, and it always bothered me when I saw people do that. They weren't doing anything wrong. It's just a tactic in track. There's nothing immoral or unethical about it. But I always thought to myself, I would hate to run a race and then just dive off the track. All that work, all that practice, all of the building up you do of yourself, your cardio, your muscular system, and then to run a race and then just quit. That to me would be more painful. I would rather come in last and finish the race than I had run it quickly and then dive off. Now, I'm not saying in life I haven't been the rabbit before. I have. And that's part of the reason why I know I never want to be the rabbit. I'm just telling you, I've made all the mistakes in faith a person can make. And my encouragement to you is that you not make those mistakes. Paul would say, follow me as you see me following Christ. That would be my recommendation to anyone who would look to my example. As I follow Jesus, and if I'm doing the right thing, by all means do that. I didn't learn it myself. I didn't wake up one morning with that knowledge. I do it because it's what God's taught me to do. And experience, trial and error, all of those things have taught me that we'd rather run the race with consistency and perseverance than we had run it for a short distance and then quit. So my encouragement for us tonight is to always remember to do what's right, to do the right thing. The right thing is, even if you can't be the person out front, finish the race, because that's what's important, finishing the race. And I want to ask you tonight, are you running the race? Some people are sitting on the sidelines rooting for other people, but they're not in the race themselves. Christianity is not a spectator sport. You don't get to watch other people do it and call yourself having participated. You're either in the race or you're not. So tonight, I want to say two things. I love you, and I hope that you're in the race. Have a great week. Keep those feet moving. Don't be the rabbit. God bless you, and again, we hope to see you next week. Good night.